Looking back on it now, this was the most foolish thing I'd ever done, but being a teenage girl who was somewhat of an outcast, I craved attention. His attention. His name was Eli. He was 18 and I was 16 at the time. I remember when I first saw him, we were at a party. He was a friend of my stepbrother's. After the party, I begged my brother to introduce me. He said, "He's bad news and you need to stay away." I wished I had listened, but I didn't. Eli went to a different school, so meeting him would not be easy. Luckily, he worked at a grocery store that was a 15-minute walk from my house. I spent the evening trying on different clothes. I had to look perfect. I wanted him to notice me. I walked into the store and searched each aisle. I finally saw him. He was in the back behind the counter. I mumbled, "Hey." He turned and said, "May I help you?" I said, "Don't you know my brother?" We talked for 10 minutes or so till he got a customer. He asked if I could come hang out after work. I tried hiding my excitement and gave a simple reply, "Sure." I come back at 10 p.m. He is leaning on the hood of his car. It was a black car. I remember overhearing my brother talk about this car and how sweet it was. I tried to start up a conversation, but all I could manage was, "So, you're a butcher?" He replied with something that I know now should have made me turn and run. He said, "Yeah, I like sharp things," with a smirk, and me being the stupid kid I was, I simply laughed. Our evening meetings continued for the next few weeks until we finally had our first date. He picked me up around 7. My brother wasn't pleased and even threatened to tell my mom, but I went anyway. We were going to a restaurant on the other side of town. We were traveling a 2-lane stretch of road. It was very curvy and Eli was going faster than I felt comfortable with. Each curve made the car's tires scream out. I said, "Please slow down." He just laughed and sped up. I demanded that he stop the car and let me out. He apologized and slowed down. We make it to the restaurant and he picks a table. We make it to the restaurant and he picks a table in the very back corner of the room. Instead of sitting across from me, he sat right beside me. He kept touching me and running his hands up and down my leg. I asked him to stop. He looked at me with a look that sent chills down my spine. I was trapped between him and a corner, and all I could think about was that I should have listened to my brother. I was relieved when the waiter came to take our order, but once the waiter had left, I felt his hand again, and this time it was much higher on my leg. I said, "Please stop," but my words were so broken, he seemed to feed off my fear. He spoke again, but his voice had a sinister tone now. He said, "Are you a virgin, baby?" I felt his stubble against my skin as he kissed and licked my cheek. At this point, I was so frightened, I couldn't move, I couldn't talk. Luckily, he got up to go to the restroom, and this was my chance. I ran to the counter and was telling them what had happened. They take me to a back office and tell Eli that I'd ran out the front door. I called the cops, but there was no crime committed, so nothing could be done. I stopped meeting with Eli. A few days go by, and I'm home alone. My mother is working, and my brother and stepdad had went on a fishing trip. I was laying in bed when I heard something hit my window. I look, but I don't see anything. A few minutes go by, and another peck on my window. I get up and look outside, but it's pitch black. I turn my light out and look back outside, and there he is. Eli leaning on his car with that sinister smile. I quickly run to make sure the doors and windows are locked and look out the living room window, and he's gone. His car is there, but I don't see him. I hear a loud bang at my back door. He is trying to break in and get to me. I run to my room and call 911. I can hear him ramming the door from my room. I shout that I've called the cops and that they will be here soon. A few moments later it stops, and I hear his car start up and speed away. The cops show up a few minutes later, and he is taken in the next morning. Unfortunately, it doesn't end there. About a week and a half later, me and my brother were coming back from a baseball game. It was late, and we noticed the car's lights, and it was catching fast. The car is now right on our ass. I look back and notice it's the black car. I tell my brother, and at that moment they ram us. My brother is fighting to keep control of our car, and we're trying to get away from him, and all I remember is the sound of the engine and squealing of the tires. I knew this was it. My poor decisions had put not only my life, but my brother's life in danger. I hear Eli's car rev up again and we brace ourselves for impact. Then all we hear is the sound of metal hitting pavement. I look back and see Eli's car rolling off the road and into a field. We stop once we get to a gas station and I call 911. I let them know what had happened. Eli was through from his car and is now, no doubt, burning in hell.